It's 1945. Germany was collapsing as the Allies invaded from the west after a successful landing in France, and the Soviets from east. Berlin fell, and so Hitler's dream of being the world leader. War was not over yet, as the Allies were struggling with one more Axis country, namely Japan. Truman and Churchill had a meeting with Stalin and discussed the future of this world. At this moment, they were pretty good chums. They tried to persuade Stalin into leaving the Western countries he had captured and let them hold free and fair elections. Then, the Allies wanted to put up a show of strength, using 2 nuclear bombs in Japan. They did that, and the war ended in the entire world. Sure, this can be it, right? In the end, 2 major superpowers were victorious, 2 major superpowers with totally different ideologies. After that, the Cold War started. It was 1998 when a secret plan was made public. This plan comes by the name of Operation Unthinkable, and this plan was never approved or implemented. But why? The objectives were to end the Soviet occupation of Eastern Europe and to create a free and democratic Polish state. The plan assumed a surprise attack on the Soviet forces stationed in Germany to impose the will of the Western Allies on the Soviets. Without American help, the British would most probably fail. There was a big problem for the Allies though. The number of Soviet forces was way more bigger. While the Soviets had 228 infantry divisions, the Allies had only 80. The Allies knew that Stalin was unreliable, so they decided not to attack because of how unpredictable the Soviets could be. But what if Operation Unthinkable was put into practice? What if it was successful? That could be the beginning of World War III in Europe between the East and West. The Allies would start an invasion against East Germany and probably Czechoslovakia. After a successful invasion, they would continue invading Poland and maybe the rest of the countries. After all, they would stop at the Soviet borders, ending the war. What if nuclear bombs were used? Important cities such as Warsaw, Prague, and Krakow would be reduced to rubble, and millions of civilians would be killed without any reason. In the other countries, rebellions against communism would take place, and again, a lot of people would get killed without any reason. But what if the operation was not successful? After a failed offensive in East Germany, the Allies would be pushed away from West Germany. Probably the Soviets would stop here, or continue invading the West. Important cities from France, Belgium, and Netherlands would be the next target for Stalin. In this case, defensive lines along the border with Germany should exist. If the Soviets would invade and have success, the Western troops would evacuate from France, just like in the Second World War. After that, the war would stop. An invasion of Britain would be worthless. Germany would be united under a communist regime, and probably it would be a puppet state just like France, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg. In both cases, a lot of people would get killed, mostly Germans. If the plan was successful, Eastern countries would have developed faster. If the plan failed though, Western countries would have to suffer under communism. European Union wouldn't exist, and an invasion of Austria, Italy, and Greece could take place anytime. The use of nuclear bombs would be a big problem because there was no pact that banned them. Most of Europe would be destroyed. Would this plan have any influence on other countries at all? In Asia, there were a lot of countries divided into 2. For example, Iran, Vietnam, and Korea. If the war broke out in Europe, those countries would start wars too. Anti-communists would be held by the British and Americans, while the communists would get some aid from the Soviet Union and China. Life after war was really bad. People wanted to break. If World War III started, everyone would just fall into a depression from which nobody would ever recover. Sad people, economic crises, wars after wars, genocides, all of those are keywords for something called the end of the world. Even if the West won, the world would hardly recover from all of the destruction. In a nutshell, the world was once again sick, as this plan, as you probably imagine, was rejected. Now, would you believe me if I told you that the Soviets had a similar plan?